All right, everybody, we have a huge guest. I was going for a walk this morning. And I'm thinking, man, Seth is coming on the podcast. This is huge. Like, dude just took fourth place at Oceanside. And I thought to myself, he's a freaking Olympic medalist. Like, I'm not going to intro him as the fourth place at Oceanside. So, Seth, Olympic medal. That's huge. That's incredible.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. It's a bit better than my intro at the Miami Conti Cup I did in March. I was there and they were doing the lineup and they called my name for the start and they were like, I forget what number I was, number 9 or whatever, Seth Ryder, fourth place at the 2019 under 23 junior mixed relay. I was like, what a strange result. But I was
Well,
like, it kind of made me laugh right before the race and then I had to reset and get ready to go. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
yeah, man. It's been, I mean, we've known each other for such a long time. I mean, I forget even like what year that was. I mean, it was back in like youth and junior time frame. I mean, 2000 and oh my gosh. Do you know? Like, I mean, 2012, 2014? I
Yeah,
mean,
I must have met you in 20, kind of that 2013, 2014 range. And then you coached me in the 2016 season, which was super. Yeah, actually had a really good season that year
yeah,
and came back from a big injury. You helped me to get back. And then, so yeah,
yeah,
been around for a while.
yeah. You were racing like the German league. That was
Yeah,
you did super awesome there, and yeah, that's
yeah,
like, I mean, I think that's the one thing is, I remember too, even before you. I mean, this memory always stood out to me is that you were at USAT Nationals as like, I don't know, like 14 or 15 or 16-year-old, and you were racing just because you could, the draft legal side, and you were like top performing on a TT bike, crushing like pretty legitimate guys at such a young age. I'm like, dude, this guy's legit. Like he's got something going for himself. So yeah,
yeah.
it's
I think
fun.
that was up in Milwaukee in 2013.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
insane. So it's kind of cool to see you back on the TT bike a little bit. And then, but yeah, so how long have you been in the sport? I mean, when did you start getting into triathlon? How did you get into triathlon?
Yeah, so I've pretty much been in the sport from as early as one can do triathlon. I think I did my first race when I was 6 years old, and that's the youngest. That's the limit for getting into an Iron Kids. So I did the Memphis Iron Kids because I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. So yeah, I did the Memphis Iron Kids when I was 6, and yeah, I kind of followed my two older brothers and my dad into the sport. My dad was a pretty competitive age group triathlete at the time, and before that, he was kind of a semi-professional, more duathlete than triathlete back then. There was a lot of big duathlons. They used to call them biathlons in the late 80s. But yeah, so he was really big into the sport and I wanted to just be like them and do whatever they were doing. So yeah, I jumped into it and yeah, from then it just snowballed until yeah, when I was got a bit older, started taking it a bit more seriously, and then one thing led to another, and just kept climbing up the ladder through all the races that were available, and eventually, yeah, became pro and started racing on the elite fields.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like and the cool thing too, like I remember like kind of moving through like junior elite, all that area is, I mean, kind of always like tooted to your own horn in the sense that's like really nice to see in that kind of era. And like the way you race too, I mean, you just raced like what we saw at the Olympics, and probably why a big reason why you're selected for that team is just like your ability to race and just be incredibly strong in all three disciplines and never like really have like a true weakness. And that, I mean, you saw that. I mean, many people saw that from the very beginning. And even like when you kind of finished and you're like, no, I'm not going to follow like that traditional development path like most American like U23 people do. Like you went off on your own, you did your own thing. Like I think I forgot like where you actually did you move to Girona like that year that you were doing the German stuff?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I moved anywhere. I was just like completely nomadic and living out of my suitcase. But yeah, I just kind of like you said, I really followed my own path, and I think that's super important. And sometimes you got to just like trust yourself and not just take the options that are given to you by the federation. And yeah, I'm so glad that I did that because I think that was like that year that you coached me and the year before that. was like a turning point in my career because I just like I knew that if I wanted to be good at draft legal racing, I mean, everyone that's dominating it is in Europe or they're racing in Europe, or even the Australians that were dominating at the time, they all lived in Europe the whole summer and raced the French Grand Prix. So I knew like if I wanted to be good, yeah, that's what I needed to do. So I just yeah, I got, I was coached by Joel Filial when I was 16, I think, the year before you coached me. And he helped me to get in contact with a French team and a German team. And yeah, that really helped. And then once I got that opportunity, I kind of realized, wow, this is huge for me. So then I really committed the next 2 to 3 years to just racing as much as possible. And yeah, like financially it was tough for sure, but if you find the right clubs, they really, especially if you're getting decent results for them, they're going to help you. And that's what I found. And I just had to make it work with the support that I had from them. And yeah, it was a huge part of kind of my development, I think.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, you just you're betting on yourself in such a large way of when you're over there, I mean, minimal people, you have to make it work. And if you don't make it work, well, then you're back in the US. And like you're kind of like in this do or die kind of situation. And I think the thing too is, when you're racing as frequently as what you are and what you know about the sport, I mean, ITU racing is such a skill. Like you have to know it so well and like identify situations and just know it. And I think when you racing so frequently, again, like when you think about 4 years later, 8 years later, you're on the Olympic team. I mean, all of that, what you did by yourself came in, into fruition. Well, and it paid off for you big time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, a big part of the reason I got selected probably was just reliability. I mean, in the mixed relay, you just want someone that is not going to mess up or not going to like crash or, everyone can crash, but whoever's going to have like the least likely chance of making a big mistake like that, fumbling in transition, missing the front group in the swim. And yeah, for sure, those are all skill things. I mean, physiologically, you still need to be good, but everyone's pretty good physiologically. But it's all about skills. Open water swimming is a skill, and none of us got to swim in the river before the race in Paris. But if you've done a million races and you've swam in rivers before, then you can just like go and rely on all those past experiences to get you through, even if like you're not actually prepared for the specific conditions. So yeah, like it's just that whole kind of catalog of experiences that I have from all those races just kind of built up over the years and helped a lot.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's, you just don't think about as much, but, at what point getting into triathlon did you start thinking, I want to make the Olympic team?
Uh, I mean, it was for sure like always a goal, but maybe it was more of like an unrealistic goal because I kind of always struggled a bit running when I was younger. I wasn't like the best runner. Sometimes I think when I was around like my last 2 years of juniors, I started to improve and I was able to run a bit more. And I had some really good coaches that were like, yeah, actually you can push this volume up a little bit, and that helped a lot. And so I was a bit of a late bloomer on the running side. But so kind of before that, when I was 15 stuff, I would like say, oh, one day it'd be awesome to go to the Olympics. But I kind of knew that I really needed to improve my run if that ever was going to be a realistic, thing. So then, yeah, once I started to improve my run and, 20 kind of 16, 17, I was running better, getting good results. And then still, it felt like a really distant goal, but I was like, oh, maybe one day I could do this. And then 2019, when I was on the mixed relay at the test event, and then we got on the podium, I think second there, I was like, oh, wow. I mean, I was on the podium, and pretty much everyone else on the podium was an Olympian. So I was like, well, at least maybe I'm not there for the individual race, but I can be valuable for the mixed team relay. And these are all like the French team, the British team. These are all like Olympic medal hopefuls. So that I kind of thought, oh, maybe I can do this. And then I really fought it was ended up being 2 years later, Tokyo. And I got pretty close to making it. It was a discretionary selection again, and I didn't get the spot. But I felt like I was close. So then basically after that, I was like pretty sure that I had a really good shot. And then I just kind of went all in on trying to qualify for Paris.
Yeah, because you're thinking 16 into 2020, which was 21. So you went through essentially two and a half quads to kind of like finally get to the point where like, yep, I can be on that spot. I mean, that's a long time. I mean, that's a lot of chasing races, not chasing races, but just believing and trying your hardest to put yourself in that position to get on that Olympic team. And I mean, did you ever decide maybe after 2020 Olympics or the 2021 that you're like, no, I think I'm done with this? Or was there still like this belief of, no, I got this. Like I can definitely do it.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, I think like when 2020 went by, I was kind of like, I just felt like I was like, oh, I was close, but I was really on the way up, like on the start of my kind of trajectory. And then right after the Olympics in 2021, I had a few of like my best races ever. And that really was like, oh, we're on here. The next 4 years are gonna, or it was only 3 years at that time, but the next 3 years are all, I was super motivated. And yeah, yeah, definitely didn't have any like hesitation to not go for it.
So during that time, like when you after the was it oh my gosh, was it yeah, Beijing,
No, Tokyo.
Tokyo. I mean, what changed in that time for like anything like training, like did anything like change for you to get you to like another level, or is it just another year of consistency, another year of training? I mean, like was there anything specific that it had happened?
Not too much changed really. Like I was coached by Paulo Sousa that whole period from kind of late from 2017 all the way until Paris Olympics. So it was all just like a gradual progression and really just focused on like I always knew like if I'm gonna go, it's and at 100% like my only medal shot was going to be in the relay. So I knew that was like my biggest thing that I had to offer the Team USA. So I was really focused on just like doing as many mixed relays as I can, staying a well-rounded athlete, not losing any of my strengths on the swim and bike while still trying to improve my run and just like really kind of trying to stay healthy and keep like a gradual progression. Because when they select the Olympic team, they really look at the results over a 2 year period. So you want to just show that over those whole 2 years, you've been consistent, reliable, and just like a good athlete for them to put on the relay team. And so, yeah, that's kind of just what I focused on, just being consistent and improving. And for sure, we made small tweaks on the training here and there through that period. But yeah, nothing like, no like big change in the philosophy of the training, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean you've seen triathlon. I mean, you're a student of the sport and you've been following it forever. And like was there anything that you learned from previous quads and things that you might have seen? Because one thing I thought about was like when Eric, because I mean this was during the Poway times where like Eric was very close to the Olympic team, but then he got injured. And then I think was it Matt? Did Matt make who made the Olympic team or who? Oh, no, it was Ben. Canute made it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
did you take any learnings and whatnot kind of going into those final couple years into that Olympics thinking I need to do certain things right to keep myself healthy to be picked for this team, or are you thinking I'm gonna freaking risk it all and just get after it?
No, for sure not. Like I definitely learned a lot by just watching. I've been around a lot of people that were preparing for Olympics. I've been around people training before Rio Olympics, and then before Tokyo, I was training with a lot of people that went to the Olympics. And yeah, like being around these people, you always kind of look and you see, and yeah, you learn. I think the biggest mistake I see people making, and it's so easy to do, but you get caught up in the hype of the Olympics and you just throw everything out the window of like what got you to that point. And then you're like, oh, the Olympics are in 4 or 5 months. I'm just gonna like do everything different and get to another level. And it's like, well, most people just do stupid shit before the Olympics and they end up there like dead. So if you just do what you did the whole time before, you're probably going to be pretty good. And so yeah, that's kind of what I tried to do and just not mess anything up and just keep doing a lot of the same stuff and try to stay consistent and stay healthy and not you don't need to try to break your lifetime run mileage limp like record the year of the Olympics. It's just, yeah, it's not really necessary and it's kind of risky to do. So I just tried to, yeah, keep it consistent. And I mean, yeah, you can't go to the Olympics if you have a stress fracture. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like you mentioned it, you're around a lot of people and you've been coached by a lot of great coaches and around a lot of great athletes. I mean, are there any athletes that stood out to you or that or maybe really helped you along the way or just like you watch them more closely off of how they operated?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like at the beginning of my kind of transition from junior to professional, I got the opportunity to train 1 year with Joel Filial. And that was a lot thanks to Sarah True, who kind of like had the idea to bring some junior athletes and kind of give experience to them and also help her a bit in training. Because at that like overlap of like the last couple of years of junior for the junior guys and a really top level elite female, it's like the level's pretty similar. So we could actually help each other quite a bit in a lot of sessions. So that was really good. And, she was at the top of her game there. At the time, she was one of the best in the world. So, and she really like took me under her wing kind of. And, I spent even a month just at her house training and then on training camps in the summer in France and stuff. So watching her train. And then also when I was in that group there, the on the men's side was like crazy. It was, Mario Mola, Richard Murray, and to just like watch how these guys are and how they live, that really taught like basically that was my first glimpse into like the actual life of, high level pro athletes. And from then on, I was like, all right, well, that's how these guys do it. So I'm just going to do it like that. And, they just, it's nothing crazy. They just like stay focused. They don't mess around. They just get the training done every day. And yeah, no like hero sessions or anything like that. And so yeah, since then, like those guys, all those people there, that was like the first kind of people that I had around me, and also the people that kind of had the biggest impact on kind of developing those routines and how to live as a pro.
Yeah, I mean, you forget. I remember the race specifically. It was like a London ITU like World Cup or WTS race where every time like Mario and Richard would race, like that was like the also like the peak Brownlee time frame. And they
Yeah,
were never in that group, never in that group. And then finally, I think at this London ITU race, they made that group. And I remember that race like so vividly where they're all running together and you're thinking, is this the day that they're gonna, beat Alistair? And it was. I mean, it was an incredible
yeah, yeah,
race. It was
yeah,
I remember the video too. Like Joel was kind of like on the side, and it was like this. You just see him there. He was like wearing this red shirt. I just remember it, and you could see him like just freaking barking, like just like let's
yeah,
go. And that was a great turning point with those two because those two were great, are great athletes. I mean, some of the
yeah.
fastest runners the sports have seen. So
And it was
yeah,
really cool to see like how they trained together before the race, and then straight after, just back into sessions together. And it was like, yeah, how they handled that and just kind of keeping the competitiveness out of the training and kind of how they, yeah, Joel did a really good job of like getting those guys to perform really well and yeah, managing all of the personalities and everything.
yeah, cool. So Olympics. So you said that everything was kind of geared toward um, the mixed team relay, and I'm sure it's the selectors of whoever that is for USA Triathlon. I'm sure they're very aware that this is what you want, like this is what you're shooting for, like this is your target. But do you ever say to them like, hey, like, do you ever go to the selectors or like your performance director and say, this is what I'm shooting for, like you can count on me, or is it just they know?
No, there's actually, it's kind of funny. So the last part of the selection process, you can write a letter to all the selectors explaining like what you, yeah, what you can offer and why you think you should get the spot. So that's kind of like the only, I mean, unofficially for sure, you can say like, look, guys, like after a race, you can, go up to the high performance director and say, look, this is what I do in a relay. Like I've done the same thing every relay for the past 4 years. And like, you can count on me to do this every time. But yeah, the official, you have one official kind of opportunity to tell them like what, yeah, why they should pick you. And yeah, that was kind of weird. I didn't know like that kind of got sprung on us, I don't know, 2 months out from the selection. And yeah, everyone was kind of like, oh, what do I put there? But yeah, you can just write a letter and you can say like, outline certain things that you've done in the past 4 years, and you can talk about what other people did bad, and you can say why you won't do that. And it's kind of funny, but I think, yeah, I would love to see other people's letters actually.
So what bad things did you say about your teammates? Do you want to tell us live here or no, I'm just kidding. Um that's but like it's funny because like you would think the selectors would know everything about you and your results and everything. And like the letter thing is kind of interesting that they would like they're gonna
Yeah, yeah,
award you the Olympics off the best penmanship or something like
yeah. I
that, you
know.
know?
Shout out Chat GPT.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And so how did you find out that you were selected? Like how did that go down?
Uh, yeah, it was funny. I was up on an altitude camp in the Pyrenees in France, and I was out on a ride with my training group, and I got a text message from our high performance director that he was gonna that if I was free for a call. I was like, "There's no way I'm waiting." I mean, I think we were an hour and a half away from home. I was like, "There's no way I'm waiting until I get back." So I just told him, "Yeah, yeah, call me whenever." So I was riding. And I was just like, after I got the text, I was kind of like just holding my phone and I was just waiting for him to call me. But I just continued my ride a little bit and I was just with my girlfriend. We let the rest of the group go ahead. And yeah, when he called me, we pulled over and yeah, I took the call just like in the middle of a climb in the Pyrenees with nobody around. And yeah, it was crazy. I was like, yeah, I was so stressed before, but yeah, in the end, it was after a lot of build up in the call. He finally told me that I made it, and yeah, it was just like an awesome moment because yeah, my girlfriend Roxana, she is a triathlete for Poland, and she had just qualified a couple weeks earlier. So then it was just waiting for the news for me, and then yeah, when I found out that we both were going to go, it was just yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, a lifelong dream, working hard, injuries. I mean, like, yeah, it's insane to think that. I mean, how many? I mean, was it 2004 that the first triath or 2000 in
Yeah,
Sydney?
2000.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. 20 years later, 24 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, and just
So,
like the amount of kind of hard work and like racing and commitment that I put into it, it was just like, yeah, it's crazy to think back, but yeah, it was like a just a massive relief and joy and everything.
yeah. So
But
let's
then
go.
also like quickly you got to like think, all right, like that was awesome and you're super happy, but then you got like I have 6 weeks to get ready, so you like kind of got to like switch your mind a little bit and then be like, all right, yeah, let's do this.
So you're at the Olympics and like mixed team relay time. I mean, it was an incredible race. I mean, like, what was it like in the race? We saw it all from the crowd standpoint, which just looked like out of control, like the crowds there. I mean, but like, can you take us through the race and what it was like just racing and all that?
Yeah. I mean, it was good that I had the individual race before. And for sure, like I went into the individual race really wanting to have a good race. And I felt like I was in really good shape. And in the end, I struggled a little bit. I struggled a lot on the run with some stomach cramps and just not my best race ever. And yeah, but in general, it was good to go there and have that race on the course. And like, because when you I go and the individual when they called us down to the pontoon, I was like kind of overwhelmed with emotion a bit, like looking out and seeing how many people were there. It was just like pretty crazy and hard to like stay focused because it's so different from every other race we do. So I was like glad that that was over and I was like, all right, now I know what to expect and I can really go into the mixed relay really focused and just kind of I know what's coming. And so yeah, the race went pretty well from the beginning. It was I tried to just really like keep it low key and think about it just as another race and not get too stressed and just kind of do my normal pre-race routine, warm up and everything. And the swim was good. Yeah, like I had a good swim. I think I came out third or fourth, and the river current was just like insane. It was really, really crazy. I mean, yeah, luckily the individual race was before and we had a bit of experience, but still, like you just, yeah, I think you would need to swim that course like 10 times if you want to get it right. Because you come around the buoy and you just get like pushed down the river and you don't know where to swim. And people are like running into people because the current's pushing everyone all over the place. So I was just glad that I made it out of the swim in a good position. And yeah, these relays, they just pass so fast. Like, you have a good swim, you think, oh, maybe we can do a breakaway. You get on the bike, you push for like 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden you just see like everyone's there. So then it was just about staying towards the front, trying to stay safe. And I was in really good position going into the last turn on the bike. But then Hayden and Pierre Lecourt crashed right in front of me. And I was like literally right on Pierre's wheel and I barely missed the crash. I kind of had to like lock up my rear brake and kind of readjust mid U-turn. So I was really glad that I missed that crash, but because of that, I got like shuffled to the back of the group. So I came into T2 in pretty bad position, which was not ideal. And I really like I wanted to start the run at the front, and I knew like then I had a little bit of sliding room, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do that. So I started the run at the back, and I just kind of tagged on to the people that I came out with, and it's just yeah, it's crazy. I mean, already like Alex and these guys are 2 seconds ahead of me, and it's just like a sprint basically for 5 minutes. And yeah, I kind of ran in this group of like it was like a big bunch of people, just like a line and yeah, it was crazy. I just tried to do everything I could, but I mean, everyone is just going all out. So it's so hard to make up any positions. But in the end, it was like, yeah, the majority, there was a few teams that got a bit of a gap, and then there was like 8 teams that tagged off in 5 seconds or something crazy. So we were all just kind of lined up, and it was great, like weird. The run was, it was normal, but then at the end, you come down, you do like these little like switchbacks down this hill, so it was like so hard. I mean, you're like going all out and you're trying to go around these corners and not fall over. It was pretty hectic. But yeah, tagged off. And then the funny thing about relays are like you finish and you're like dying, so like you're in so much pain, but then it's so short that like 2 minutes later you're kind of fine. And then 5 minutes later you're like, oh, I should have gone harder.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you handed it off because it was the male started or did Taylor start?
Yeah, I started, so I went
Th-
first.
Then Spivey got it second.
Yeah, and then Spivey went second. And then it was Morgan, and then Nib was at the end. But yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was like an hour, maybe a bit less than an hour after I tagged off that I just had to like watch, and it was like super stressful, especially just like as it got closer to the end, and you're like, oh wow, we're really in there for a medal. And it was kind of on Morgan's leg that there was like that was kind of the do or die moment was like if he was able to stay with those guys because I knew like out of the two or three guys he was with, none of those teams had a good female, like none of them had as good of a female on the last leg as we did.
Hmm.
So I knew like if he stayed with them, Nib was going to destroy those girls. So yeah, it was kind of like just watching him, and then every time, every lap that he came by and he was still with them, and then once he got onto the run, I was like, oh yeah, I think we're pretty safe here to get a good result as long as nothing goes wrong. And yeah, then everyone really just executed exactly what they needed to, and no one really made any big mistakes, and that kind of led to a good performance. But yeah, on the last leg was crazy, just watching that sprint finish, and yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then you think about going like back to your leg. I mean, with Hayden and was it and it was Pierre or was yeah, Pierre.
Yeah,
I mean, them crashing in front of you. I mean, you're thinking about I'm sure you can go back and think about that later. What if you would have had gone down in that crash as well? But
yeah.
like you were able to maneuver through that and have the skill to just get through that and yeah, stuff like that. Like you don't hear about it. I mean, I didn't even know that you were like that close to it. And
Yeah.
but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, you never know if these things are just like skill or luck, but I think in cycling, sometimes you just have to, yeah, you make your own luck a little bit and you got to be ready. And going into the turn, I saw Hayden come around the outside and I was like, that doesn't look right. Like he's not even in the drops and he's going way faster than everyone else. Like this is just, I don't know if he's going to make it around. So I was already like, I had my eyes like directly on him because I was like, that seems way too fast.
Hmm.
And then yeah, Pierre was right on his wheel. So when Hayden lost the front wheel, Pierre was just gone, and he couldn't do anything about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean those kind of moments, they totally changed the race for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so where's the Olympic medal now?
It's actually it's here in Flagstaff in my suitcase because yeah, I needed to bring it for like in Miami. I kind of did like a meet and greet type thing where some got to show some people the medal and stuff. So I had it with me here.
Yeah.
But
I
I
can't.
just keep it in like a little sunglass bag, you know, those little like felt bags that you keep a pair of sunglasses in.
Yeah. Man, it's got to be insane sometimes just like to look at that and reflect on it and think like, holy crap, this is an Olympic medal. Like I just earned this thing. Like that's insane.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it was crazy after the race. It was just like so hectic. And then when I got back to the village later and kind of was just like had some time to be by myself, I was like, yeah, looking at it and just like, wow, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I always knew like it was a possibility. I mean, Team USA just has such a good relay. So I knew once I qualified that, we have a realistic shot of getting a medal. But to actually do it and then just have it in your hands is just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you finished the Olympics and did you know, I mean, well, one again, like you finished like that and you have a big goal. I mean, do you kind of go into like a weird state, like you just accomplished like a huge lifelong goal, or are you just thinking, okay, what am I doing now? Like, what am I doing now? Like, how do you process life after the Olympics and an Olympic medal?
I mean, for me, like I had a lot of stuff lined up just after the Olympics with the whole like Super Tri series. So that kind of helped because I had a goal. I mean, I had a race 2 weeks later that I was like, okay, I need to get back out and train for. But for sure, it was hard to reset. And those first few races after, I think I wasn't really fit because I'd been like in the Olympic Village for a month, or not a month, but 3 weeks probably. And yeah, I don't know. You try to train, but you have a lot of other stuff going on. You're busy, and yeah, like I wasn't in the best shape in those next few races, but kind of like after one, then my next race after was so bad, and I was like, all right, now it's time to like actually start getting after it again. And I was like, it just took one bad race for me to be like, okay, let's go, because I'm kind of yeah, it doesn't feel good to get like almost last in these races. So yeah, then I started to build back up, and then yeah, a couple weeks later, I was had a couple of really good races and was going well again, and was able to finish my year, yeah, with a couple really solid results. So I think it was tough at first, but then I kind of had one bad race, and that kind of kicked me in the butt and got me going again. Yeah.
Yeah. So then going into the first year into a new quad, and I mean, and now I mean, you just said Oceanside, and so like I'm curious about what is like, I mean, well, so many questions I have to ask. So like, what is the transition like been like for you moving into some 70.3 racing, some still draft legal ITU racing? I mean, like, what has the training been like? Has it been different? Has it been the same? I mean, like, how does that transition look like from going from an hour 45 Olympic distance race to a 3 hour and 45 minute 70.3, you know?
Yeah. I mean, training wise, it's honestly not as different as a lot of people would think. But it already started in September last year after the games because I did the 70.3 in Italy, kind of in the middle of the whole Super Tri series. And that kind of showed me because I came back from the Super Tri in Chicago and I didn't even unpack my road bike. I just left it in the box. And then I just trained on the TT bike before to get ready for Italy. But then I went to do the Super Tri in London and I hadn't ridden my road bike in 2 weeks. And I jumped back on it just from doing TT training. And I felt as good as ever riding the road bike. So that kind of showed me like, yeah, I mean, I ride my road bike all year. So not riding it for a couple weeks, like I don't lose anything. So I can actually just do a lot of the same training, but then like swim and run is pretty similar, to be honest. And then on the bike, it's just about doing a bit longer sessions and doing them on the TT bike. But I would say we already trained relatively high volume compared to some short course athletes, not the highest, but for sure relatively high. So that helped because already I was doing, big sessions, long sessions on the bike, riding quite a bit of hours. So then all I needed to do was just do the same training, but do it on the TT. And that kind of was all I needed to feel comfortable on it. But and then yeah, at the end of 2024, like you said, is a kind of a big year making big changes. So I decided to change coaches because I kind of felt, yeah, I had accomplished this big goal. and everything was going really well, but I wanted to try to kind of like see what I could do different. And, I don't want to do my whole career training the same way under the same coach and kind of doing the same thing. Because I was at a good level, but I was quite consistent at this level. I wasn't really, or at least I didn't feel like I was improving anymore. So I wanted to, yeah, switch it up and make a change. So after last season, I changed coaches. My new coach is Luca Zenti. He's mainly like kind of cycling focused, but has a background in triathlon himself and coaches some triathletes as well. But so yeah, a lot of changes for sure. But in general, the training, it doesn't look that different, to be honest, than short course training. On the swim, I do the exact same swim sessions I would if I was preparing for a sprint distance or, it's kind of just like really well-rounded program. And then on the bike is where you see a bit more difference. And then on the run, I mean, I was probably already running, in general, I'm always running kind of close to what I can maintain consistently in terms of volume. So it's not like I can switch to 70.3 and be like, all right, I'm going to run 20 miles a week more now. I mean, I can't do that. I was already close to what I consider to be like my limit of what I can maintain. So there wasn't a ton of changes training wise, only on the bike. And yeah, I really enjoyed kind of this new challenge on the bike and doing these new sessions. And yeah, it's good to switch it up after a while for sure.
I mean, you must have a lot of confidence, like say with the swim going into any 70.3 and thinking, like I feel pretty confident that I could swim within the top five, like comfortably within reason, like of the people that are main factors within it. I mean, so you are swimming like the same amount of swim of volume per week.
Well, with my new coach, I'm probably swimming a little bit less. Probably like with Paulo, we basically swim 25K a week. And now I'm probably swimming a bit more like 22-ish. So yeah, it's kind of 500 to 700 meters less every swim.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's pretty similar, I would say. And the sessions, they look pretty similar too. I'll do maybe one session more kind of thresholdy in the week, and then one that's a bit more kind of VO2 focused. And then the rest is kind of aerobic and maybe some short sprints to work on the get out speed. But yeah, it's definitely like it's a relief to be on the start line in these 70.3s and not like look over and see 60 guys that want to absolutely smash you at the first buoy.
Yeah.
And
There might,
like and also in the WTS, like everyone's good. There might be still 65 guys in these 70.3s, but I'm just like confident that I can, get to the first buoy and not have to fight a bunch of people. But that'll definitely change. I think like at a race like 70.3 Worlds, it'll look a lot more like a WTS. But in these like normal 70.3s, I know that there's some good swimmers for sure. It's not like I'm coming first out of the water, but I know that I can at least swim good enough that I can, not have a ton of fighting and get on the feet and just kind of cruise through the 2K.
and like I'm sure you're aware of your power, and I'm sure you're aware of like the power requirements to ride within a group like Oceanside. And so I'm sure you're looking at that. Like and like right away were you thinking like I can sustain like that level of power in the dynamics of like that group? Or were you thinking, I'm not sure, maybe I need to work on that and just like build out like that specificity, like that you're gonna experience? Like how much did you believe that you already had it? And how much of it did you believe like, no, I need to work on like some longer reps kind of a thing?
Like last year when I did my first one, I was kind of like, oof, I don't know how this is going to go because I was really struggling to put the power down in the TT position. But I kind of always find that before these 70.3s, I'm always, oh, I don't know if I can do this power for 2 hours.
Hmm.
But then I always surprise myself with how easy it feels on race day. I think, yeah, sometimes when you rest up and you're in the race environment, yeah, it feels just so much easier. But yeah, I was like confident that I could do. Also, it's not really easy to know what power is required because I mean, I see the numbers of these guys, but a lot of them are way bigger than me.
Hmm.
I'm pretty small compared to a lot of these long course guys. So I don't know. I never know like, and I know weight is not the huge factor in terms of like watts on these courses because a lot of them are pretty flat. So I don't know like how much of a factor that's going to be and how much less I can push than someone, for example, like Lionel, who might be a little bit heavier than me, or Sam Long, who's considerably heavier than me.
Hmm.
I don't know, like on a flat course, how much does that mean? How much less does that mean I can push and keep up? So I never know exactly what I need to do, but going into Oceanside, I definitely felt way more prepared than the one I did last year. And there I was like, all right, I'm ready to pretty much go pretty high for the first hour. And then I think it always drops off at the end. So it's kind of just about sustaining through like 60 to 90 minutes. And then at least the ones I've done, I always felt like it tails off a little bit at the end. But that'll be interesting at St. George because there's that pretty long climb towards the back half. So
Yeah.
that'll be a bit different.
So one question, two questions off of that. So one is like just going to ask like if you could share some like key bike sessions that you did in the Oceanside. But the first one is, when you go into Oceanside and it's like your first real big 70.3, 12-meter draft, which was pretty close. I mean, were you nervous about the dynamics kind of going into that race? Because it is new, like it is kind of new being in a group like that. And how did you play it out? I mean, did you think like, no, I'm going to sit near the front, or like how did you work within that group that you came out of the water?
Yeah. I mean, we swam. The swim was so hard, actually. Like the Greg Harper is and Magnus Manor, these two guys, they swim like crazy fast. And I think there was a few of us that were hanging on, and then by the end, I think I was the only one that was hanging on the feet, and everyone else was kind of like staggered back. And Christian Blumenfeld he was further behind. I guess it's 2K, so it makes sense a little bit, but he was further behind in Oceanside out of the water than he was in Paris.
Hmm.
And like that's how fast we swam. It was pretty quick, and that really separated it out. So there was only a couple of us there. And so that means there wasn't really a proper group at the beginning of the bike. So my plan, I kind of figured I knew Greg is such a good swimmer. So I figured it was going to be pretty spread out after the swim. So my plan was to try to keep up in the swim and then get on the bike and just try to get to the front, ride kind of hard for a couple of minutes and then settle in and then wait for Christian to catch up. So I pretty much stuck to my plan pretty well. I got to the front immediately on the bike. I kind of rode in control. I rode a little bit quick, like I rode quick to get out and get ahead of everyone. And then I just settled in for the first like 10, I think it probably took like 10, 15 minutes until Christian caught up. So I wasn't going that hard. And then when he came by, then I was like, all right, because I knew I'm not going to ride the whole thing by myself. So I was like, I might as well just, like ride in control and wait for this group to come by. So then once he came by, then I was like, all right, now we're on here. And it was like he was going pretty quick. And I'm not gonna lie, when he got the flat, I was like, oh, thank God. Because it was like, yeah, he was going pretty quick. I think I was kind of pushing around mid 300s to keep up with him at that time.
Okay.
And so yeah, when he got a flat, then that was kind of unexpected because I kind of figured it was like I thought it was going to play out just everyone just trying to keep up with Christian, and the group was just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And my whole thing was I just wanted to make it to the hills with the group. I figured once I made it to the hilly section, things would get a little bit easier for me because I know just like for me, I struggle a lot more on the flat sections. So that first like 25 miles on the flat was like I really just need to suffer, get through this, and then once I make it to the hills, it's like the second part of the bike starts and I'll be more in control there. So that was my whole goal to just make it to the hills. And then yeah, it was hard for sure. Like I think I did the first 90 minutes at 3:30 and I weigh 146 pounds, 47. So that was yeah, that was pretty tough for me. I kind of surprised myself with those numbers. I think I also need to work on my aerodynamics because I think my numbers were quite a bit higher than some other people that were in the same group. But
So
yeah,
that's
like
like
it
that's
played.
like that's like 5 watts. That's like around like 5 watts per kg that you're pushing for like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I
that's
put all the numbers on Strava too, so they're all out there
okay.
on the
Yeah.
in the public domain. But yeah, it was tough for sure. And then yeah, kind of the hills came, and then it definitely chilled out. Like Justin Riele broke away towards that back half, and then once he was away, I think yeah, people kind of started looking at each other, and it's kind of false flat downhill the last little bit, so it kind of calmed down, and I was able to come into T2 feeling pretty good.
I mean,
But
what is the vibe of that like in that last like say 30, 40 minutes? I mean, are you aware of like who feels good, who's not feeling good, or do they all kind of look the same? And also like when what's to say like Justin goes off the road and you kind of know like okay, this guy's likely going to run 118. I mean, is there urgency when he does that, or are you just thinking these are the main players in the race, these are the big runners, we're just going to sit here? Like what is there discussion, or is it just that's how it's going to play out?
no, I was kind of hanging out at the back of the group because I was pretty gassed after the first 60, 90 minutes. So I was like thinking, if I want to run well here, I need to try to recover a little bit and really get some carbs in and take this opportunity to just fuel up. I could see, I think Rudy got away a little bit, but I could see him up the road. And I just knew like, okay, I could ride 1 minute faster here maybe, but I would probably run 5 minutes slower. So yeah, I just figured it wasn't worth it. So I knew like I could see Gustav and Burt Whistle and these guys right in front of me. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to stay with these guys and just try to conserve as much energy as I can and just try to not be on the 12, like be within the 12 meters and just stay safe and not get a penalty. Because it was weird. Like it was my first time with Race Ranger and the race. And on the hilly section was so weird. Like it was crazy because I got stuck in the back of the group because I kind of entered the first hill towards the front, but then everyone carries speed and just flies around you. And then I was stuck at the back. And yeah, like if you try to stay at the back is so like you get to these hills and you're just like soft pedaling at the bottom, like almost coming to a stop to not go into the red. And then all of a sudden the last like 100 meters of the hill and over the top, you're like doing 500 watts to try to keep up. So it's like it's just yeah, it's really weird how it works. And I wish I was at the front there and I could have ridden like a smooth power. But for sure, like the last 30 minutes, I was like, yeah, I don't really care who's breaking away because I need to like rest a little bit here.
Yeah. Yeah. So well, this is yeah, continue the run. So you get off the run, and I mean, you're basically right there. And but you did say kind of going into Ocean that you did have like a calf thing, like you weren't quite sure of like where run fitness was. But I mean, for the people watching, it didn't look like you were that concerned. I mean, you were kind of like pegging it, or what? Like, yeah, like you
Yeah,
were right there.
yeah. I mean, it's not that I wasn't like it's not that I was dealing with the injury before Oceanside. It was just at the end of last season, I had a pretty big injury, and then I was just really conservative with how I built up my mileage through the winter. And I had like coming back from a big injury, there's always like a few small things that pop up. So I was pretty limited about like I only got up to like maybe 40 miles as like my biggest week, which is significantly lower than what I'm used to. So, but my sessions were going really well. It's like the volume wasn't there, but my workouts were going really well. So I was thinking, yeah, I wasn't really sure what to think to be honest, but I got on the run and I just was in the zone and I mean, at that point, I'm not thinking about what training I've done before.
Yeah.
I'm just like thinking about the race. And I felt so good. And I was like, oh, this is like I was looking at my watch and it's like, wow, this feels so easy. That's the weird thing about 70.3s is just like changing from biking to running. You just, no matter what, you just feel good, I think, just to get off the bike. So I felt really good at the beginning and so relaxed and just like so effortless running for the first little bit. And really until like I went with Lionel, everything felt so easy. And that's why I kind of was like, oh, I'll go with this because I feel so good. And then yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I think I was just right below this line. And then, you go over it for 2 minutes and you're just done. I was just cooked. And, oh, can you hear me?
I think I lost you there. So you said that you went into the red, and you kind of came out of it, and then you said you were cooked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was feeling really good until I went with Lionel. And then, yeah, basically after that, just things started to go downhill, lack of mileage and just a little bit too aggressive trying to follow Lionel's move. And then, yeah, I think that was probably with 4 miles to go. I started to really suffer. And then I just was like hanging on for dear life. And then, yeah, it just got progressively worse as it went on.
Yeah. Yeah. But like we were talking about before, like it's got to be pretty awesome to like make that transition and be around, some of the very best 7.3 athletes in the world and be like still like right at the top end of that game and think like this was like my first one, like just
Yeah.
I mean, so 70.3 worlds should be pretty cool. So I want to hear like some key sessions. And also you said that run mileage, 40 miles a week for you is it's like you said is pretty light. I mean, like what is a common run mileage that you're running like when you're just in good shape?
I would say like the generally over the past few years, I've been kind of sticking around 50, probably when I'm not racing and just like on a training block, probably 55 to 65 would be like pretty standard. So that's kind of like in the next couple months, I'll probably build back up to that. And then kind of as I focus on more short course stuff, yeah, I'll be more focused on the run. Because also it was like I knew in long course I really needed to improve my cycling. So I was riding significantly more and focusing more on riding during this winter and not too stressed about the running because I knew like I wasn't going to race short course until this summer. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to get that base on the bike and really improve that. But yeah, the key sessions like yeah, there's so many, but one of the ones that stood out on the bike was like I think I did it a couple times and I did it last week up here at altitude, which was horrible. But it's basically start out and you warm up for a little bit and then you do 10 times 90 seconds, like pretty hard. I think at like 380. So 90 seconds at 380, 30 seconds at 250, and then
Mm.
90 seconds. So that's, you do that for 20 minutes. So in the end, I think it's like 20 minutes averaging somewhere around 330, 340, but it's like really up and down spiky and like it's only a 30-second recovery and the recovery is still like upper zone two. So that one, that's pretty tough. So that's the first part of the workout. And then you do 30 minutes easy. And then I would do 5 by 8 minutes threshold to finish up at the end. Just like for me I also found that I had a big difference in threshold in the TT position versus on the road bike. I was like 20, 30 watts lower.
Mm.
And that's been improving as time goes on. But I think, yeah, I was somewhere around 320 for those 8 minutes at the end. And
Yeah.
I was like checking my lactate, trying to, stay under a certain amount and stay under threshold. So in the end, it's, yeah, more or less an hour of effort. And yeah, the first part is pretty high intensity. And then your legs are a bit cooked. And then you have to kind of work on the durability and getting the volume of kind of like threshold riding in at the end. And yeah, and the total ride time was probably like 3.5 hours for that session.
So like when you're doing like a 70.3 build and obviously you're doing St. George this week is I mean are you always doing like a mixture of intensity? Like are you always kind of doing some VO2 max and like a little bit of threshold? I mean, and do you do a lot of like longer race sustained efforts or is that not like a big part of your plan?
So yeah, I'm definitely doing that's the one thing that's a bit different with my new coach is like the kind of we're really varied in the week of like what kind of intensities we're hitting. We're kind of like doing a little bit of everything. So I'll have rides where I go out and I just do 3 by 30 minutes LT1,
Hmm.
just kind of like, which in the end, I mean, the thing is like, there's not really a race pace for 70.3. Like you have an average power that you get, but you get there by doing like so many different intensities. So like I'm definitely doing all those intensities in the week. So like when I go and I do LT1, that's probably what I ended up riding the last 20 minutes of the bike or the last 30 minutes of the bike. So I'm getting a lot of time at that intensity. And then also I'm doing these like surgy up and down. And then I'm doing normal like threshold stuff, which is kind of which is a little bit over what I'm averaging in the 70.3, but also, you know, I'm probably spending a lot of time in that first 45 minutes around that threshold. So I'm kind of like hitting all the intensities that I would hit in the race. And then we're also doing, some intensities that I won't touch in a 70.3, like, 1 minute flat out at 500 watts and stuff like that, working on like your glycolytic capacity, I think it's called this session, and just going like all out for 5 times 1 minute, for example. And that was like disgusting session, hurt so much. But yeah, we're kind of like periodizing that stuff. And through the week, I'll do like certain things, I'll do one day, kind of like a big bike session, like I told you, with like a bit threshold and high intensity. And then the next day I'll come back and I'll do like LT1 or high zone 2 just to work on like your metabolic efficiency. So kind of like those back-to-back days, we'll put them together. And then also I was doing some like pretty long rides for me this winter. I was doing a lot of 5-hour rides and getting up, well over 100 miles on these Saturday, Sunday rides. So yeah, a really good mixture of stuff on the bike.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from what it sounds like that's a lot different than what you were doing in the previous 7 years or so, right? I mean, so the stimulus sounds like it's a lot different.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with Paulo, it's also like I'm training for a completely different race.
Hmm.
So it is going to be a little bit different in that way. But yeah, with Paulo, we kind of the riding was definitely still similar volume, like up, 13 to 15 hours a week on the bike. But yeah, our sessions would be a bit more, just threshold and then, a bit higher stuff and working on more like the skill stuff. So we would do pace line sessions with all the guys. We were in a group, so it was more like group style training, hill repeats together and then pace line workouts together. And then also, but like a lot of the sessions, I get a sprint session now and it looks a lot like a sprint session I did before. So a lot of the stuff is similar, but yeah, it's a little bit more varied on the bike, I would say.
And
And
the
then
what?
on the run, I'll go through a few run sessions as
Yeah.
well. But I was kind of leading up to Oceanside. The volume wasn't crazy, but I was doing 2 sessions a week, kind of one more like threshold, like LT2 threshold focused, and then one was more like LT1, kind of more like it feels pretty easy, but they're pretty long, I would say. So, for example, one of the threshold sessions I did was, I think it was 3 by 1K, 3 by 1K, 2 by 2K, 1 by 3K.
Hmm.
And it was
Ooh.
like starting out close to around, yeah, like 304-ish, 303 for the 1Ks, and then a little bit slower for the 2Ks, and then a little bit slower. So like kind of staying within threshold. And as the reps get longer, just a touch slower, but still like for the 3K, I think just over 5 minute mile pace. And then
Yeah.
the 2Ks were right around 5 minute pace. And then the 1K is a bit, 450, 455.
Yeah. So I mean, you're
So it was like,
basically trying to get your
yeah,
body to be better at just holding longer threshold effort. Yeah.
yeah. And then also the other session of the week would be about just like, because I kind of found that I really struggled with this LT1 stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
it was easy at first, but I would really quickly fatigue. I wasn't that efficient at like LT1. So we've been working on that. And yeah, I was doing stuff like, whereas kind of like a 15K continuous LT1, but like it was like 2.5K continuous LT1 and then 500 meters, like kind of surge a little bit and then straight back into LT1 and just doing that for like, yeah, 9-ish miles.
Is
So that
this
was kind of a good one.
and is the surgeon just trying to like put a little bit more lactate in the system and then bring it back to LT1 to like to get that more efficient at clearing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So you're working on that like lactate shuttle
Hmm.
and kind of like clearing the lactate from your body. And then, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense of why your LT1 wouldn't be as proficient because why would you train it, a lot
yeah,
with like
yeah,
Olympic stuff? Um, yeah. So, you're, and so do you do a lot of track, like stuff that's faster than threshold? Or for right now, are you thinking this is my skill set that I need to be excellent at for these races?
yeah. No, like, so kind of before Oceanside, I had like 2 periods, which was like the block I just told you about, that was more like threshold focused. And then the block just before that was kind of like more VO2 focused on the
Hmm.
run, doing a lot of like 30-30s and stuff like that. So it was a bit more kind of like reverse, a bit of the faster stuff first, and then going into the more race specific
Hmm.
after. But yeah, as I shift now after my next, like I'm doing St. George and then I'm going to be focused on short course for the next couple months. So once I do that, then I don't know if I'll do track necessarily because I have like had a few lower leg kind of injuries the last couple of years, not like big injuries, but just things that pop up. And yeah, I find if I just do the same session, but on the road, it's just a lot better, easier on my body.
Yeah.
So I'll probably do similar like sessions that you would do on the track, fast 400s, but I would just do them as like 1 minute hard, 30 seconds easy type stuff.
Yeah. When
But
you
yeah,
When you were
Yeah, go
doing
ahead.
the VO2 max block before like this LT1, LT2 session, like how long of a block is that where you're kind of working above that intensity?
It was probably like 4 or 5 weeks,
Mm,
probably. And I was doing kind of 2 times a week, just 30-30s. I just did a lot of 30-30s. And because I was also, that was earlier in the winter. So I was still a lot fresher coming back from like my big injury that I had at the end of last year. So that was also like a good introduction into running because it was like you're only doing 30-30s. So you're not running hard for really long time. So it's kind of like a good way to build it up. And yeah, you're able to work on the speed without kind of destroying your legs.
yeah. And you're going into Ocean or St. George this weekend where it's another huge race, big field. I mean, like how do you envision this race going? Like the dynamics of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's again like I'm racing a lot of new people that I never raced before, and it's even like I would say I don't know. I mean, well, Oceanside Christian was like a big factor that in the end didn't factor in the race because of a flat. So I think yeah, now it's going to be just similar to like that with having Christian there, but now it's Sam Long and Magnus. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're definitely going to change the game. And I mean, Magnus, yeah, I'm just curious to see like in real life how crazy it is on the bike. So I'm definitely going to try to swim hard so I can have a little bit of a head start
Yeah.
on this guy on the bike. And then yeah, just kind of see. I don't know how I'm going to play it if I try to ride a bit more aggressive at the beginning and maybe get caught a bit later on, or kind of do the same thing and just ride in control and wait for the group to catch up. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I know Magnus is crazy on the bike, but I hope I can make it to Snow Canyon, and then at least then I have the watts per kilo advantage going up the hill. And then, yeah, the downhill back into town is going to be a
Yeah.
mission to try to keep up. But it'll be, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. And the run there is totally different because I think it's pretty hilly and it's going to be more of a strength race and kind of who has like more left after the bike.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like stuff like that where I think when you gotta kind of get those guys on the bike that are coming from behind of just, I mean, they're strong. So I feel like they can just like empty it and still run rather well.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun race to watch. Yeah. I mean, and so I'm curious to know, so now you're gonna, after St. George, you said that you are gonna transition back to some more ITU races. So like how long do you think it's gonna take you to get back into like that ITU mindset and fitness, like that more top end LT2 VO2 max-esque style of racing?
Yeah. I mean, I think on the swim, I'm pretty much already there where I need to be. And then because I did one ITU like World Triathlon, it was a Conti Cup before Oceanside 1 week before, but I still like I felt really good, and I came out of the water first, and I had a good swim, and then we pushed super hard on the bike. So like I think because I was doing this really well-rounded program through most of the winter, I was able to kind of like stay in touch with those kind of intensities, and it wasn't like a shock to the system to go back and do them. But for sure, it's going to take a little bit, especially like on the bike, I would say is where I've changed the training the most. So yeah, it'll take a couple weeks to get back. And, because in ITU, you have, even like sprinting, doing like sessions of like 10-second sprints, because you have to do all these sprints out of every turn. So yeah, getting back to doing that kind of stuff and really working on this like really high intensity stuff that I kind of didn't do the last month or two, probably that'll take a little bit, but I don't think it'll take too much. And then the running, I mean, the running is honestly pretty similar because it's not, I was still doing this kind of upper threshold stuff, which is
Yeah.
pretty close to 10K effort.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it should go pretty quick. I have 3 weeks from St. George until the WTS in Italy. So I think that should be enough time to kind of tweak the bike and get back on the road bike, doing some high intensity stuff. And yeah,
Yeah. So a couple last questions is and I mean you're gonna try to go for the next Olympics,
yeah,
which is LA, right? I mean like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
and and so like I'd imagine that this is the year that you kind of get to play around, dabble into like these other distances. But then like after that, I mean, do you go back into full on like just going after the points because you have to chase those points to be in the system? I mean, I mean, yes, I mean, I'd imagine that's your path, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see how this year goes, but I would really like to have like this kind of routine of doing one or two 70.3s at the beginning of the year and then shifting the focus to short course for the middle part of the year where there's a lot of races to do.
Yeah.
And then maybe at the end coming back and trying to hit 70.3 worlds. Like that's kind of like my dream scenario of if it works, I would like to keep that routine. But maybe it won't work. I don't know. We have to see. But in my mind, it makes sense that you have in the winter, you have a few 70.3s to train for. You get this really good aerobic base. You do them, and then you shift into getting some more high intensity stuff and getting ready for the summer period of like doing a bunch of WTS.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I don't know. I think it makes sense, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, thanks for coming on. I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, personally, I'm stoked to see you racing the distance and doing so well. I mean, it's not much of a surprise, but like it's cool to see, like you making that transition and just being right there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun. It's cool to race these guys that, it's kind of like a similar feeling to when I first started racing World Triathlon because, I was watching Ironmans for a long time and seeing these guys, but you never get to race them. So then it's like a whole new kind of feeling of racing the people that you were watching on TV, which is the same thing I felt quite a few years ago when I first started racing,
Yeah.
the World Cups and stuff.
Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, good luck this weekend. And yeah, again, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.